Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and a new Baldurs Gate video. Today we're back once again to talk more multi-class concepts, but this time it's from you guys in the comments. I made 4 videos on different brilliant multi-classes or multi-class concepts, some of the strongest stuff we could find or think of. But now it's time to tone it back a bit and take a look at what you guys have been working with. Yes, more strong concepts, but also fun or interesting ones too. So let's take a look. We begin with one of the most upvoted comments on the last video, a unique Paladin, Rogue and Bard build that's all about fishing for crits. This comes from Devastating Cliptic, who explains that the build only really works once you hit Act 3 and get the gear required. Still, it's a cool concept and deserves a mention, so we're talking about it. The level balance is this: 2 Paladin, seemingly any subclass you'd like, 4 in Rogue, specifically Thief Rogue for the double bonus action that provides, and of course the feat, and finally the remaining 6 levels into College of Swords Bard. With this you'll have your flourishes, spells that all scale with charisma via Paladin and Bard, the fun of the Jack of all trades playstyle from Bard specifically, and the extra attack that comes with the level 6 Bard too. With just 2 levels into Paladin to begin with, you get yourself the ability to wear heavy armor and potentially shields, alongside the Divine Smites at level 2. But what's the gear that he was talking about? Well, it's pretty interesting stuff. We have the Ballast Armor, which you need to become an Unholy Assassin to really get. There's Savarok's Helmet, which is dropped by Savarok, so that's an interesting combo with the Ballast Armor because you need to be an assassin and then kill him after, which is how that would work, I imagine. There's also the Deadshot Bow you can find in the Stormshore Armory, and both of Orin's weapons, Bloodthirst and Crimson Mischief, which either one can be in your main hand or offhand. Essentially, you're dual wielding these weapons and you're going to be melee flourishing and smiting whenever you land a crit using Divine Smite's trigger. We can upcast the smites thanks to the Bard's spell slot levels, push the damage higher, and the 2 bonus actions come in handy for multiple attacks and general gameplay, and we're going to be getting 2 feats from the build overall. Obviously, in regards to the gear then, there's a big theme about stacking crit chance and playing around crit strikes. The gear will be running such as the weapons will be lowering the roll we actually need to land a crit, and that stacks and stacks. You combine that with the bow that brings it down another point, making it more likely to crit even further, alongside obviously the other benefits of the gear. With this build, you should be critting very often and therefore hitting very hard consistently. I do think it's a really cool idea. It's just a shame that it only really happens once you get these weapons and the armor to really make it so much more likely that you're critting and able to do this. How about a different take on these videos then? Instead of a multi-class for ourselves, what about a party member? Teacup Kitty came in with a neat concept for Karlach. Naturally, still a barbarian, but multi-class with both Rogue and Druid. As is standard, we want 3 levels into Barb to reach Wild Heart as a subclass, then going, as always, Bear Heart. With that, we'll have our Rage, which will be reducing the incoming damage while active. Not all damage types will be reduced, but most, including the most important, in physical. Then we have the 3 levels of Rogue to get the subclass Thief, as you'd expect, for the second bonus action. And finally, the 6 remaining levels, they go to Moon Circle Druid, leading into the concept of a Raging Owlbear as a super tanky build. You'd rage and then go into your wild shape all in one turn, making use of your double bonus actions. Interestingly, Teacup Kitty mentioned how Karlach could now become, say, the party's lockpicker or trap disarmer if you wanted to go that route, and highlighted the fact that when you're in your wild shape, your gear stops being effective in the normal way. So you could just equip her with just utility-based things that are useful for the squad with that in mind. I think it's a neat triple up compared to an idea we had in this series already, and could be more effective if you're interested. Speaking on build concepts that have a different version to consider, last time I talked about the really good concept that is dual hand crossbows, using a mix of rogue and fighter to achieve that. A popular comment from last time then came from Gustavo Mendes Undfield, who was using a different version of that idea. Instead of fighter and rogue, they made another triple up multi-class concept. Again, multi-class concept with 3 classes, more popular than I thought. A mix of ranger using the Gloomstalker subclass, rogue with thief of course, and bard once again with College of Swords. The mix Gustavo suggests is 5 in ranger, which provides archery as the fighting style, which is kind of, required for this concept, and then the subclass itself with extra attack at level 5, which is vital, and your first feat at 4. The Gloomstalker provides Dread Ambusher and its hide function, improving your initiative and your movement speed, and it'll also come with Umbral Shroud. If you're obscured, you can turn invisible, which will further help avoid damage and position in fights. Then we have the Thief, which provides the extra bonus attack, so to attacks using the offhand crossbow of course, very important. The Bard with College of Swords nets you the flourishes and a variety the spell benefits. Ranger has its own spell slots, but Bard is a full caster class, providing way more spell slots per level, which is handy. I like this more stealthy, reposition and ambush style version of the build. I really like dual hand crossbows. They feel really strong as a concept in Baldurs Gate 3, so good to have another version of that. But on this ranged note, mentioning Bard again, there's a real back and forth about one concept, the ranged flourish of Swords Bard, and how that's really strong. It's something I've been kind of overlooking as an aspect in these videos so far, so I was interested to see all of the comments about this. I read 3 comments in particular from Can Guen, who I hope I pronounced right, Coin is in orbit, and hey, devastating Cliptic again. It was Can who brought it up though, highlighting that it's arguable that slashing flourish in its ranged version is the best ranged physical ability or attack in game. It will double your attack because it allows you to target the same creature not once but twice, and Bard in general provides a lot of crowd control, utility, healing, teleportation, and more. As a basis for ranged playstyle then, College of Swords Bard is strong with that in mind. Coin is in orbit though brought up that if you combine that with Warlock as a multiclass, you can get the repelling version of Eldritch Blast, of course. Meaning you could send people flying and then blast them with a ranged flourish. They can never get to you, and you can just repeatedly punish them. Warlock and Bard work well together too because they both scale with charisma, using a bow with the Bard and the cantrip via the Warlock, all at range, keeping them at range, sounds really fun. It was Cliptic though who highlighted the triple multiclass of 2 fighter, 4 thief rogue, and 6 swords bard to go really hard more on a Gatling gun version as another idea. So there's lots of ways you could do this. Next up is the hilarious idea by David Kelvin. Do you want to be proficient in everything? All skills. Apparently it's not only possible according to David, but there's more than one way and it's not that hard. You can even do it by level 5 in some cases. Apparently the consistent method would be to start with 1 level in rogue, giving you lots of proficiency options, then 4 levels in law bard, again letting you choose a bunch. Wood elves as a race though can take 3 more levels in rogue to achieve this all by level 8, while races that only get 1 proficiency can add just 1 level of ranger, or go with knowledge domain cleric to give them more options. There's also warlocks with just 2 levels. You can get beguiling influence, and Githyanki can even do this at level 5 in another way. You don't choose intelligence or wisdom, but instead you use astral knowledge to get those. The feat you'd be using in all of these cases then would be the skilled feat, which simply lets you choose 3 proficiencies of your choice. So at this point, I reckon David made his point pretty well. There's a lot of ways you can reach all skill proficiencies, and on various races and different ways to do it at different levels. A completely random concept, but you know, in a funny way, it's exactly what I wanted to see and hear about when I asked for more weird and silly multi-class concepts. Fine work, David. Let's now move back to more functional multi-class concepts, shall we? This one comes from Jareth Thompson. This one mixes monk, barbarian, and thief as yet another triple class multi-class concept, but they focus on throwing things and people. The mix allows for 2 bonus actions and 2 main action attacks before haste is even involved. You might know where this is going. The meta combo of open hand monk, in this case only level 5 though, where you get extra attack, and thief rogue at level 3 for the second bonus action, of course. But then the barbarian comes in for this build, frenzy barbarian with the remaining 4 levels for the combo. Because you're running barbarian, you'll want strength, so the build is of course running tavern brawler, so the monk actually benefits from that. But that also ties into the whole throwing people and things concept. You attack, you get a tavern brawler proc, now you can throw something for improved damage from the strength. I mean, baseline you get 4 attacks with no haste, and then the many opportunities to throw people or knock them prone. Jareth mentioned that if you throw one target at another and it works out, you could knock both of them prone, leaving them very vulnerable. Apparently there's no penalty for small races too, so you could do this as a gnome, throwing humans around like it's nothing. And he had a really good tip to do with the legendary spear Nirulna, which is just a really good throwing weapon. If it's not equipped, it can still be a great throw option whenever you need one, giving you a good range damage option if there's just nothing nearby to throw. Now this build is obviously less meta and a more silly version of the monk rogue combo, but I do like it. Finally, we have one more from Zabrak1566 with an awesome simple idea to recreate the dual wielding druid that is Jahiera. Zabrak referenced how Jahiera used the Druid fighter multiclass back in Baldurs Gate 1 and 2, and he wanted to bring it back. This multiclass idea is the dual wielding Spores Druid with the fighter class using either Battlemaster or Champion as its subclass. Though I would recommend Battlemaster because it seems the better pick in general with the special attacks that are so good from that subclass. Zabrak explained that just 1 level in fighter provides the Constitution proficiency, helping you maintain concentration spells you might be using from your Druid. There's also the all-important 2 weapon fighting style, which is kind of required if you're going to be using a dual wielding build. There's items in game that provide extra damage or buffs when concentrating, so you could work that in here, and any finesse weapons should work well. You'll find things like the Undermountain King weapon or Thornblade, while still relatively early in a playthrough, but then likely ending up of course with the weapons of Orin, the ideal dual wielding weapons in Act 3. The level balance suggested by Zabrak was 7 in Druid, using of course Circle of Spores, and then again 5 levels in Fighter, but I would say Battle Master specifically. The Druid provides a lot of useful spells like Wall of Fire, Spire Growth, Moonbeam, alongside other utility. There's Long Strider and Enhanced Leap to reach your targets always, or just good healing options, or Feign Death, or Speak with Animals, and more. Fighting with the weapons means you'll have 2 main hand hits, and then 1 offhand hit per turn with no haste, and you could set up before that, say, a Spike Growth or a Moonbeam, then start using the weapons on target, stacking up damage in multiples in 1 turn. So yeah, I really like the idea, Zabrak. Great reasoning and good concept. But there you have it, that brings us to the end of our first set of viewer multi-class ideas. Honestly, a few of these are going to be really strong, good concepts, while some of them are just simply fun and interesting, like the really silly all proficiencies idea. If you guys have any more suggestions, whether they're strong, or interesting, or just silly and fun, let us know in the comments. Maybe we'll even be able to come back for another set. For now though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thank you for watching, see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.